This 1987 sitcom turned television on its head. Nobody really had seen anything like it before, and perhaps maybe even since. We'll look more at this TV sitcom next. Hi everyone, welcome to Retro Flicks. This is your channel for movie and TV retrospectives. First, I want to say, apologize, I've been gone for quite a while. This is a busy time of the year. It's been about 3 weeks since I put on a video, did an episode. After the summer, it just gets really busy for me here. But I'm going to not take that long again. It might be more, maybe closer to 2 weeks. I'm going to try to do it even more frequent than that now. But certainly not go 3 weeks. But again, this is just kind of a busy time of the year for me when the summer's I'm a little bit more open, but I promise I'm not going to take this long for new episodes. So again, please subscribe, and that way you will get a notification when I do upload a new episode. And today, as I alluded to, we're looking at a TV sitcom today that really changed the dynamic of TV sitcoms. Certainly before that, and I think even really after, I'm not quite sure that we've seen anything really like it. And I'm just going to go really right into this now, because I have a lot to talk about with this TV sitcom. And the sitcom that we're doing today is Married with Children. Married with Children is really the brainchild of Michael Moyer and Ron Levitt. Moyer and Levitt were writers. They had written for sitcoms like The Jeffersons. Moyer did The Jeffersons, and I think Levitt did The Jeffersons as well. Moyer actually also wrote in Good Times, that sitcom. And they both actually co-developed the sitcom Silver Spoons from the early 80s as well. So they had experience in it, and when they got to Fox, which was going to then do Married with Children, Fox at this time was just starting out. So at this time right now, they were looking at trying to get their array of TV shows on Fox at this point. So what they were doing was they enlisted Moyer and Levitt to create a sitcom that they can put on Fox. So what did they end up doing? They ended up deciding they were going to do a sitcom that really was going to be different than anybody had ever seen, and none of the sitcoms that we'd seen historically at that time. And basically you see the family dynamics of, really not saying there isn't any trials and tribulations that families would go through in these sitcoms, but more than likely they're really probably more higher upper class families, and everything seemed to work out in the end. Everything was pretty loving, and Moyer and Levitt said, that really doesn't represent probably most of what America is. I mean, the families are probably a little more dysfunctional in that. Let's kind of show exactly the reality of what most families probably are in this country. And so they had been disillusioned by the TV sitcoms and wanted to really turn everything on its head, so to speak, and do something that they actually thought probably represented most of what American families were like. And so they wrote the script for Married with Children and gave it to Fox. Again, Fox is just coming out at this point, so their management they were a little bit skeptical even of that, even though they wanted to maybe be a little more edgier than the three networks had been coming in new, a little bit different. But even this sitcom, the management at the time, this sitcom scared them a little bit when they wrote the pilot that Moyer and Levitt had wrote. But Moyer and Levitt fortunately ended up getting a president, Garth Ansier, came into Fox and championed the script of this and said, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. I believe what you guys are doing. So now, of course, to make the pilot, you have to have the actors. And so they had to go and cast the characters. There was going to be Peg Bundy, And Peg Bundy was going to be kind of like a lazy type of housewife, didn't really want to work. And then there was Kelly Bundy, who was going to be kind of the very, very pretty, but dim-witted, sister here and daughter. And then Bud would be the smart aleck brother and son. And then of course you had the patriarch of the family would be Al Bundy, who really kind of has a low-level job, doesn't make a lot of money, kind of disillusioned with life in general, and lives a lot in his glory days of high school where he actually was something he doesn't feel like he is now. And so to go out and they cast for Peggy Bundy, they cast Katey Segal. And Katey Segal was really at that time kind of known for a character she played in the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and they knew her from that, thought she'd be really good, called her in, and the Fox really loved her for this role. Kelly Bundy, I think they saw her in something else and brought her. Kelly Bundy for the character was Christina Applegate, was the actress, and I think they saw her in something else and brought her in. David Faustino would play Bud Bundy, and David Faustino was basically they got him through general casting. And I leave Al Bundy to last because that ended up being the hardest character to cast for them. And they could not find that character, and was coming down to the wire making before making the pilot, and they had not cast it. And any of the actors they saw to audition for this kind of played it more in an angry tone, more kind of like maybe an Ralph Cramden and the Honeymooners kind of thing, and kind of yelling, and that's not what Moyer and Levitt had in mind for the Al Bundy character. And so they really could not find that, and they were getting really worried. So at the time, one of the casting directors was in Connecticut, and he went to visit a family member and went out one night to see a play. And he went to see a play in Hartford, Connecticut, and this play was of mice and men. And there was a character in there called Lenny. And he kind of thought the Lenny character might actually be a lot of familiarities to the Al Bundy character. So he's watching this play, and the actor did a really splendid job at this character. So when he went back to California after his visit, he told Moyer and Levitt, hey, I saw this actor. I've seen him before. He wasn't well known, but I've seen him before in something. It was something particularly he'd done right before that. But he was acting in this play, and I think he's somebody that we really should bring in and read for this role. And they were asked, well, what's his name? And the casting director said, his name is EdO'Neill. And he goes, I don't know if you know, but he actually just did, it wasn't picked up, but he had just did a pilot for, I believe it was NBC, called Popeye Doyle, which Popeye Doyle was the character from The French Connection that they were going to make a show about. EdO'Neill got that role, but it never went on after the pilot. But he's like, I know he did that. Moyer and Levitt didn't know him at all, didn't know him from that, didn't know him from anywhere. EdO'Neill he was basically a theater actor, really. He had did a movie called Cruising, with William Friedkin movie called Cruising back in 1980, playing a cameo as a detective, and at the time. And so he wasn't really well known except for in like New York City and so forth like that. And so, but out there, they had no idea who he was. So he went to California, EdO'Neill. He went to California and happened to be doing something else that didn't go. And he was in California. He was at a YMCA playing handball. And he gets a call from his agent. His agent says, hey, there's a show on this new network called Fox. And EdO'Neill said, Fox, don't they do movies? Again, nobody knew this was a new channel coming up. He was like, they do movies? He goes, oh, I know, I guess they're going to be in the television business now, but they're making a sitcom, and they would like you to come in and read for it. and read for the father in this sitcom. He goes, I'll send the script over to you. It'll take you 10 minutes to read, and they're over at Sunset Gower in Hollywood. It's right across, basically right across the road from the YMCA. You can just pop over and read. So EdO'Neill got the script, read it, went over, and he was playing handball. He went right over after handball and had his bag with his gloves and stuff around there, and he came in all sweaty with a sleeveless shirt and so forth. And he walked in and saw Moyet and Levitt's office, and he said they had Twinkie wrappers and Ding Dong wrappers and Coke cans everywhere. So it was kind of interesting when he first walked in. They saw him and he saw them, but Michael Moyet said, well, I liked him really when he came in because he was all sweaty and so forth with his little short sleeve shirts, my guy, because they were just obviously dressed in jeans and everything. It was just kind of, real laid back. But he came in and they gave him a part to read, and it was actually, if you ever see the pilot, it's the very first scene where Al comes up and just stands outside the door before he comes in after work. And so they had him read that scene, and EdO'Neill, when doing that scene, before he went to the door, he just went and put his head down, sighed and put his head down. And Michael Moyet said, when he did that, I knew he was the right person for this role. He got what Al Bundy was, because Al Bundy wasn't somebody who was going to yell and scream and all that. Al Bundy was just resigned to the fact that when I come home, there's going to be crap on the other side of that door, and I know that's what's going to happen. All I can do is sigh and go in and get ready for it. And nobody had done that. And so they were like, that's really what we're looking for in this character. And so at this point right now, they were really interested in him and said, this is the guy we want. Al Bundy goes back to New York where he was living and gets a call, says they want him to come back out and actually do some scenes with the women that they had at the time for Peggy Bundy, although they certainly were really on Katey Segal. They really liked her. But they were still mixing and matching as they do. And so EdO'Neill said, I wasn't going to go out. He goes, it was Christmas time when they called me. It was cold. It was snowing. He goes, I did not want to get in a plane to go to California at this point. So he actually passed. He passed on the role at that time. His agent called him back not too long ago and said, listen, they really want you to come out there. And so he's like, well, how much are they going to pay for this? And they said, $10,000 an episode. He said, well, give him. So he said, tell them I'll do $12,500 and I'll come out. And then he called back and said, yeah, they'll give you $12,500, which he didn't even technically have the role yet, but they really liked him. But he decided to go out, and it went really well, and he did get the role, and Katey Segal got the role. Their chemistry was just, phenomenal. And so now we've got the pilot going on, and the agent told EdO'Neill, he's like, you're probably going to do the pilot. Maybe you'll do 6 episodes. You'll shoot 6 episodes, and 3 will air, and it'll be canceled. EdO'Neill's like, that's fine. That'll pay for something. So I'll do it. And little did he know, right? But when they got to the 3rd season, they ran into a little bit of a trouble. And that trouble was they had an episode where it was a little bit more of a racy episode. You know how they had women in there and just, scantily clad women, and lingerie and things like that there. And so they had an episode called Her Cup's Runneth Over. And in this episode, Al and Steve were in like a lingerie store, and a girl comes out really scantily clad and says, what do you think of this on me? When their eyes are bulging out. And I think Steve is looking at like women's lingerie. Well, this was on TV. A housewife in Michigan came in, her kids were in the living room, and she had kept the television on. This episode was on, the kids were in there, she came in and saw it and was just absolutely mortified. So she started this campaign to get advertisers to pull out of this show because she thought, what is this doing on television? It shouldn't be on. So what ended up happening was their advertisers started to pull out. And EdO'Neill and all the other people that were in this sitcom obviously were very worried about this. Katey Segal, all of them, the management, all of them were very worried about this. They thought, yeah, we're going to be canceled now. Well, what ended up happening was it backfired on her because people started to see this in the papers, for instance, of what's happening to this television show on this new channel, Fox, and they're like, well, I got to see this. What's all the stink about? I got to see this. And so everybody started tuning in, and for Fox, their ratings shot up big time. Because people are watching this sitcom to see what is going on. One of those things that they say, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity. And it totally backfired on that housewife from Michigan. And now Married with Children became so popular, and for about the next 4 seasons for Fox had good ratings for Fox. It sort of was never a ratings juggernaut as opposed to ABC, CBS, NBC. But for Fox just starting out, it was doing good for them because they really were kind of looking at being in the top 50 would be good for them. And Married with Children went in the 30s, but that was for them, that was doing really well. And so, but it ended up catching a niche audience though. And so, it was it's just real interesting how that worked out, and that happens sometimes, right? She had to watch what she was doing, and it ended up backfiring. As a matter of fact, I read an interview somewhere where later down the line somewhere they were talking to her, and she even admitted that that ended up backfiring. That ended up backfiring on her. So that's kind of where that sitcom was, and at that point it just went off. And I think you look at the first 3 seasons of it, it was just absolutely phenomenally funny. Even 4 and 5 were okay. Like anything else, it went 11 seasons. And so, it definitely was bringing in money to Fox. There's no doubt about it. But, in the last 2 or 3 seasons, it started to go downhill like most do, right, at that time. But they went 11 seasons. It was supposed to do a 12th season, but they decided not to do it. And right before the 12th season, right in the middle of hiatus, they decided not to do it. So there was never actually a final episode of Married with Children. And so a lot of the cast ended up finding out that they were canceled through family and friends. EdO'Neill actually himself said he was back in Ohio in his hometown seeing his family and so forth, and he was at a Home Depot or something, and somebody came up to him and said, "Hey, sorry to hear about Married with Children being canceled." He had no idea. He was like, "They canceled it?" He goes, "Yeah, you didn't know that?" He goes, "No." And he was like, "But you know what? I would prefer to hear it from you because I think there's obviously some animosity now with management." So, yeah, there was never actually a final episode. And I don't think they had any problems with it ending, but I think they had problems with there not being a final episode like sitcoms typically have, like, this is the ending, and you're going to win the night. They're probably going to win the night. So that was kind of the inauspicious ending of it. Why did this, again, with ratings, it wasn't a rating success. For Fox, it was, but if you look in general, it wasn't a rating success. But you have to think about this. Fox was not on a lot of televisions, even up until the late 90s. There were no cable affiliates. You had to get it still off on an antenna, and it wasn't until the late 90s you started to see it on cable, a lot more on cable and cable affiliates. Early 90s, but there are some places that in the mid 90s it took to get that. So it wasn't on a lot of televisions actually. So that makes it even more interesting when you look at that as well. And also too, the sitcoms that Fox had, a lot of them got canceled. And so you didn't really have that really great sitcom that could draw you in an audience. Like if I look back in the 70s with MASH didn't do very well. They put it with All in the Family, and then MASH went in the stratosphere. And so, Married with Children really didn't have that. They did get a little bit of it, though, when The Simpsons came along. And Married with Children was on before The Simpsons. The Simpsons came on, I believe, the year after that. And it had to get some footing as well. But once it did, that certainly did help a little bit. No doubt about it. But, there wasn't anything really else. there. I mean, you had the Tracy Ullman show, the Gary Shandling show that was on, but they didn't last very long. And so it took a little bit for Fox to get their footing with that. But I think, under the circumstances, Married with Children did pretty well. There's no doubt about it, and it was funny, no doubt funny. Now again, it was a different dynamic. Michael Moyer and Ron Levitt, when they did this pilot, the pilot before they made it Married with Children, the working title was Not the Cosbys. They did not want to have that type of a sitcom. And they really went out on a limb, and I think it really did work. I mean, and we're going to talk about here where you can find it, and it's a lot of places still today that you can stream. So obviously, yes, it still has its following. And I know that they would get fan mail. And there was one guy, I believe, from Pittsburgh that wrote in to the show. And he wrote, and he goes, I got a job I do not like. My wife doesn't really love me anymore. I have kids that don't care whether I come or go. But he goes, every Sunday night, I know I can tune in and Al Bundy has it worse. And that's kind of what Moyer and Levitt were kind of looking at here. They're like, quite a bit of this country, maybe most of this country really is like that. And we need to have a sitcom that portrays that family dynamic. And so that really validated them. So it was just a really, really interesting show. And again, I'm not quite sure if you even since it's been 25 years since it's been off, 25 and change, 26 actually. Have we seen anything even since then like that? I mean, a little bit more edgier sitcoms nowadays, but I mean, I don't know if there's still anything with a family dynamic like that. If there's something that I don't know about out there as far as a sitcom, please comment below that maybe I'm not thinking of. Also, recently, there's going to be an animated series of Married with Children. It's supposed to, it's still in the works. But it's supposed to go on, hopefully, if not this year, next, the last that I saw. And the cast, Christina Applegate, David Faustino, EdO'Neill, and Katey Segal are all actually a part of this animated series they're doing. And there's actually been a lot of international remakes of this show too. So it just kind of shows you, again, more of the legacy of this show. Where can you stream this show at this point? Well, you can stream it in several places. You can go to Hulu, Pluto, Peacock, Apple TV, Prime Video, and Vudu. And you can stream episodes. Obviously, it's 11 seasons, a lot there. But if you've never seen this, you need to go on and watch this show. I mean, again, yes, there are definitely some racy things in this sitcom and so forth. But I just think it was funny and definitely did what Moyer and Levitt wanted to do, and that was, hey, let's show something let's show something different here. I mean, I don't want to say a little different, a lot different, but I think it was a great sitcom, and and just funny too. I mean, you just want to laugh. This will let you do it too. A lot of people take it too seriously though, and there are sitcoms out there, and I think this is one of them too, where they thought also that we're just here to make you laugh too. This isn't going to be something we're going to make you think about. We just want you to laugh. So, and I think they do that. So thank you very much for being there today. Again, I won't wait to do so long to the next video. So thank you very much for being here. And please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I'd love to be able to talk to you guys. And again, maybe if you have any suggestions on anything you'd want me to do here. So thank you very much. And until next time, that's a wrap.